In Twelfth Night, we have dispensed with the father forbids plot part of comedy entirely. In fact, the people who are making the problems are entirely the lovers themselves. This was partly true in Much Ado About Nothing, but now it's really true. There are no fathers at all. Everybody's father is dead. Orsino wouldn't be the count. Um, Olivia wouldn't be a noblewoman without this, and Sebastian and Viola speak about their father being dead. Everybody's at that middle threshold. They're not terribly old, but they are all the oldest members of their family now. They are the ones in charge, and they are totally wrong. Our set, our set situation here in Illyria, which is a real place. Shakespeare talks about it like a kind of fantasy land. It's in it's along the Adriatic coast. Um, it's in the former Yugoslavia. It is we have the two local noblemen are having an unrequited love match where Orsino is chasing Olivia and not getting anywhere, but also but also they're both too neurotic to get anywhere. Orsino and Olivia are not going to, on the one hand, Olivia and Orsino are the obvious external logic match. They're the two local nobility. These two crazy kids, by which I mean mature adults, should get together and kind of like run the local area. It makes sense. But love in Shakespeare is never about what makes sense from a business perspective. Hell, somebody wants Bassanio. Orsino has a narcissistic desire. He seems to be in love with love itself. He, when told that Olivia refuses all suitors because she's grieving for her brother's death, he's like, that's wonderful. Think about what all that erotic energy will do when it's moved away from her brother and put onto me. That's crazy because no means no. On the other hand, Orsino is crazy and correct. Olivia is going to transfer all of that kind of libidinal energy, all that affection, all that emotional need onto a new object very soon, and it's going to be intense. Meanwhile, Olivia is Olivia has sworn to like not show her face for a year. She's gone into mourning, which is natural for the death of her brother, and Shakespeare's culture, Shakespeare's historical moment, takes mourning very seriously. The period after you've lost a loved one, where you withdraw from the world and you give yourself that time. But Olivia isn't just doing that. She's taking a huge amount of time and she's extreme and rigid. You should always look in Act One of a Shakespeare comedy for the kind of rule that is too intense and rigid to ever be followed. Of course, that's not going to happen. Hey, marry this boy, or I'll send you to a nunnery, or execute you. Okay, those can't be the choices. It's just too much. In a play we haven't read that I'll mention later in this video, in Comedy of Errors, which begins with, "Hey, you owe me money. You have to pay this fine to get out of this death sentence, or we will execute you." No one's going to execute anybody in a comedy. Something's wrong here. Both Orsino and Olivia are in a bad place emotionally. They're not capable of forming an erotic relationship um, because of that, because of their own psychological issues. We have now fully psychologized comedy. And notice we're very much interested now, or Shakespeare's interested in the comedy of the wrong object. The comedy, the "hey, why don't you love me? Oh, you do. I'll see you later" blues, as Sondheim would put it. The comedy of putting your love in a place where you're not going to get it back, making a mistake in your object. With this, Viola comes to town, dressing as a man very quickly. She is shipwrecked. She has lost her brother. She is the stranger who comes to town in a Western. There's something in this town that's just like everything's kind of deadlocked. We've got these intractable problems, but we really need a stranger to come in and just create some chaos, change some things so we can work some stuff out. And partly it's about who that stranger is, but partly about just like having somebody new here so people can work out their issues and project new things onto the stranger. Instead of a gunslinger, it's a witty young woman who decides to dress as a gentleman, a good-looking, beardless youth. She hits both of the local magnates, both of local nobility, exactly where they live. Orsino has said, strangely, that like he's hypothesized that as soon as Olivia moves her kind of emotional energy off the grief for her brother onto a potential husband, that's going to be incredibly intense energy. And he's right. It's just not going to be him. It's going to be Cesario, right? This person, this messenger whom Viola has disguised herself as. Meanwhile, Orsino has actually also found his perfect woman. His perfect woman, the woman who loves him, is also a woman who has recently lost her brother and should be grieving him. Because Viola believes she has lost her brother Sebastian, her fraternal twin, who looks remarkably like her, gender notwithstanding, in this in this shipwreck. Shipwrecks tend to be great things in Shakespeare comedy. Shipwrecks tend to be problem solvers. They're actually chaos. They're the kind of like roll of the dice thing. Shipwreck will change it all. Also, if you're in a Shakespeare comedy and you really get troubles in Act 3, Act 4, get captured by pirates. It'll work out. It will always work out, right? Antonio's here. We have another Antonio. He's been a pirate. He's very cool. It's great. It's great. Meet pirates. They're good. This is a great lesson for Shakespeare comedies and not for life. Not for life. Viola kind of satisfies both of these neurotic nobles' erotic desires, but in a way that creates a kind of complicated love triangle, messing everything up. And Orsino is right, and he's wrong. Yes, actually, a woman who's just lost her brother is the right woman for him, but not that woman who's lost her brother. And yes, when Olivia gets over her grieving and starts to move into the world, yeah, there's going to be a lot of like romantic desire there, just not for you, Orsino. So give that up. Um, the play is very interested in the interchangeableness of desire, of objects being substituted for each other. The problem of like what happens when you send a messenger to woo for you and the person you're wooing prefers the messenger. It is the Miles Standish, John and Priscilla Halpin story. There's a not totally true story about the Pilgrims. Miles Standish, the the military leader of the Plymouth colony, asked his friend John Alden to go talk to Priscilla Mullins, young, eligible single lady, and John Alden went over to do this as a wingman and passing the note in class. And Priscilla said, "Why not?" According to legend, "Why not ask for thyself, John?" So John did. The true part of the story is John and Priscilla Alden do have thousands and thousands of descendants living today. So sorry, Miles. What about that problem? What about the problem of sending the messenger? People are like, there's the problem of the interchangeableness of Orsino, Cesario, Viola, of the interchangeableness of Sebastian and Viola. The play's language actually underscores the interchangeableness of people by making characters' names partial anagrams of each other. We've got Olivia and Viola and Malvolio, these people whose names are very much like each other. There's something here about substitution being imperfect, but being real, that like it's not simple, that sometimes you need a love triangle to see your way clear to the hypotenuse of love. Of course, the underplot, one of our key B plots and one of our famous comic characters, we have the gulling of poor Malvolio, who on some level we're not supposed to like. His name is Malvolio, which is an anagram, a partial anagram of Olivia and Viola's name, but also literally means ill will. Mal Malvolio. Right? Mal is bad, evil. He has evil will. He's got ill will towards other people. He is tricked, and he deserves his own video, certainly. He is encouraged to believe that he's going to find love, which is what comedy promises everyone. But for him, it's a lie. And improbable love is what Shakespeare comedies are built around. Do crazier things happen than Malvolio getting Olivia? Crazier things happen in this play. Hey, my twin. I accidentally married this guy's my love object's twin who she thought was dead. That is crazier. That is crazier. Poor Malvolio thinks he's in a comedy, which he is, and expects that like love will come his way because that's the comedy rules. Except they burn him, and he is horribly mistreated. Okay, more videos later.